You ever wonder where the idea of evil really comes from? I mean, not just bad choices, but a kind of deep, ancient corruption? Well, today we're going to dive into a story that tries to explain just that. It's a parable about light, duty, and a fall from grace that literally changed the world. Let's get into it.
So picture this, a frozen mountain peak, way up high above everything. A great king sets up this perfect divine system. He creates these beings called the Bright Keepers, and their entire job, their whole reason for existing, is to tend a circle of silver lamps, to make sure the world below never falls into complete darkness. Their duty was simple, but it was absolute. Just watch.
And for ages, that's exactly what they did. But, watching from a distance for that long, it can change you. From their cold, perfect perch, they saw the messy, vibrant, warm life of the villagers down below. And they started to want that warmth, that connection, way more than they wanted to do their jobs.
And so, they made a choice. They broke the one rule they had and came down from the mountain. But the second their feet touched the earth, everything changed. Their very essence got twisted. The light that made them special became a crushing weight. Their silver robes literally turned into iron chains, trapping them in the mortal world they so desperately wanted to be a part of.
And this forbidden mix of the heavenly and the earthly, well, it had some pretty horrifying results. Their children weren't human, and they weren't keepers. They were something else entirely. Giants of greed. Huge, chaotic monsters who just consumed everything and left chaos and violence in their wake, completely ruining the valley.
It's a heck of a story, right? It's all about temptation, rebellion, and consequences you never saw coming. But what if I told you this whole parable is actually a key designed to unlock a much older, way more controversial, and incredibly influential ancient text? And this is where we pull back the curtain. Those bright keepers from our story, in ancient writings, they have a name, the Watchers. And their story isn't just a parable. It's a central plot point in the controversial book of Enoch, a text that tells a pretty shocking story about fallen angels and how corruption first took root on earth.
This really breaks down the promise they shattered. On the one hand, you have their divine duty, to watch, to guide from afar, to keep the cosmic balance. Simple enough. But on the other side, you see what they actually did. They abandoned their post, they interfered directly with humanity, and they unleashed a kind of chaos the world had never seen before.
Now, this wasn't just some innocent mistake. Oh no. This was a calculated rebellion, with specific ringleaders who brought down very specific and very dangerous types of forbidden knowledge. They literally became the architects of human corruption. Okay, so this table lays out the main culprits. You've got their leader, Samyaza, who got everyone to swear an oath and taught things like sorcery, but you really need to pay attention to the second guy, Azazel. He's seen as the main instigator, the one who taught humanity how to make weapons and, interestingly, how to use cosmetics. Then you add others who taught stuff like astrology and divination, leading to this massive wave of corruption.
Let's really zoom in on Azazel, because what he did was a total game changer, and not in a good way. He didn't just share secrets, he gave humans the physical tools for organized violence, swords, shields, all of it. And the ancient text makes this fascinating connection, saying he also taught women about makeup, linking what it called vanity directly to this new age of bloodshed and war.
The corruption didn't just stop with bad ideas, though. The actual physical unions between the Watchers and human women, that created a whole other catastrophe, a race of monsters that would terrorize the ancient world.
Remember those giants of greed from our opening story? Well, the book of Enoch gives them a name, the Nephilim. And they were powerful, they were famous, and they were unbelievably destructive. They were the living, breathing symbols of what happens when you shatter the boundaries between heaven and earth.
And their whole existence was just pure destruction. They ate everything, they caused endless violence, they completely threw off the natural order. But here's the most important theological point in this entire story: what happened after they died. According to the book of Enoch, their spirits didn't just disappear. Nope. They were trapped here on earth, and they became the evil spirits, or demons, that would torment humanity forever.
Okay, so you can't have this level of chaos without a response from on high, right? The world was completely out of balance. A reckoning was coming, and it was going to be absolute.
And the divine response wasn't random. It was a clear four-step plan. Step 1, the indictment. The prophet Enoch himself shows up and tells the Watchers they've been judged.
Step 2. The binding. The archangels Michael and Raphael come down to chain up the leaders, Samyaza and Azazel. With them out of the way, it was time for Step 3. The cleansing. The Great Flood, meant to wipe the slate clean of the Nephilim. And finally, Step 4. The final sentence. The Watchers are left bound in darkness until the end of time.
So, it's a wild story, right? Fallen angels, giants, a world-ending flood. But why does it still have such a hold on us? What's the real, lasting significance of this ancient tale?
Let's really dig into that. Why do we keep coming back to this story, a text that for most traditions isn't even in the Bible? It's because it tries to give a straight answer to one of the biggest, most difficult questions we have as human beings.
And the answer is that this story provided a complete framework for understanding evil. It gave a literal origin story for demons. It reframed sin not just as a personal failing, but as an attack from an outside force. And of course, it was the ultimate warning about what happens when you rebel against the natural order of things.
And this right here is such a fascinating psychological shift. For ancient people who were struggling with their own failures, this story gave them a powerful new idea. Maybe the problem isn't just that I'm flawed. Maybe I'm being attacked by these powerful, invisible spiritual enemies. It changes everything. Which brings us right back around to that beautiful, chilling moral from our opening parable. This one sentence just sums up the whole story, doesn't it? It's a timeless warning that power without responsibility or knowledge without wisdom will always, always burn itself out.
So I'll leave you with one last thing to chew on. If this ancient story is right, and the deepest forms of evil really do come from outside of us, what does that actually mean for our own personal responsibility in the fight between good and evil? Think about it.